Welcome to this video, Science and God. I have made videos already regarding the existence of God and the role of science and logic in understanding God's existence. But when it comes to science and God, many people feel like these two are opposites and enemies, that you can't have both. Either you believe in science or you believe in God, that you can't have both. And I want to disprove that notion. Many people believe in science and God. They're not opposites. They're not contrary forces that oppose each other. Going back to the 1600s, 1700s, Sir Isaac Newton, who is regarded by many as the greatest scientist of all time, he said, and I quote, "So then gravity may put ye planets into motion, but without divine power it could never put them into such a circulating motion as they have about ye sun. And therefore, for this, as well as other reasons, I am compelled to ascribe ye frame of this system to an intelligent agent." That's Newton talk for he is compelled to ascribe to the frame of the solar system the activity of an intelligent agent. Intelligent agent is or was Newton's way of describing God. Isaac Newton believed in God, believed in the creator of the universe. We happen to believe that Isaac Newton was a theist and a Christian. However, when I talk about God in many of these videos regarding science and God, I'm not speaking exclusively about the theistic God of the three major world religions. When I speak on the topic of science and God and believing in God's existence, I'm not speaking necessarily about the monotheistic God. A person can believe in God or the existence of a creator and be a theist or be a deist. Deist. Many have made the argument that many of our founding fathers in the United States were deists and not theists. Fine by me. You can be a pantheist. It is said that Albert Einstein believed in the pantheistic God of Baruch Spinoza. Fine by me. I'm not one that argues that my view of God, my understanding of God is the only way to believe in God. You can believe in the existence of some kind of creator and be a deist, a theist, a pantheist, and a panentheist. And I may be leaving out some options, but there are more options than just theist or atheist. So Albert Einstein believed in the pantheistic God of Baruch Spinoza. Einstein was not an atheist, but he didn't believe in a personal God either. I understand that. Many have said that scientists don't believe the universe had a beginning. Not true. Stephen Hawking, who passed away not too long ago, he died a professed atheist, and yet he said in The Universe in a Nutshell, he said, "The observation that we have all made, that the sky in the night is dark, is very meaningful. It implies that the universe cannot have existed forever. Something must have happened in the past to make the stars light up a finite time ago," which means that the light from very distant stars has not had a time to reach us yet. So even Stephen Hawking who was not a believer in God, believed that the universe had a beginning. And everything that began to exist has a cause. God is simply a theological or a philosophical concept for whatever is the first cause, whatever began the universe. Now you can say that you don't believe that there is any kind of God or creator that began the universe. I respect that, but I respectfully let you know that there are other scientists who believe that the known universe is evidence or proof that there is a creator. Paul Davies, a multi-awarded physicist, wrote God and the New Physics in 1984. He said, "It may seem bizarre, but in my opinion, science offers a surer path to God than religion." A multi-awarded physicist believes that science offers a surer path to God than religion. I'm just quoting scientists. I'm not quoting theologians. I'm not quoting pastors or myself or evangelists. Dr. Arno Penzias, I'm sure I'm butchering his name, I apologize, Nobel Prize winner in physics, the co-discoverer of the microwave background radiation from the Big Bang. He said, "Astronomy leads us to a unique event, a universe which was created out of nothing, one with the very delicate balance needed to provide exactly the conditions that required to permit life, and one which has an underlying, one might say, supernatural plan." There's a Nobel Prize winner in physics who is saying that astronomy leads us to believe that there's a supernatural plan for why the universe exists, why there is something and not nothing. I encourage you to read his stuff as much as you can. Anthony Hewish, Nobel laureate in physics. It's spelt like Jewish, and he may be Jewish, but it's spelled Hewish. He said, "I believe in God. It makes no sense to me to assume that the universe and our existence is just a cosmic accident, that life emerged due to random physical processes in an environment which simply happened to have the right properties." That's a Nobel laureate in physics, man. I'm not a scientist. Are you a scientist? I'm not a scientist. I really am not. It's the truth. Now, Richard Dawkins is a professor. He wrote The God Delusion. He said that faith is an evil precisely because it requires no justification and brooks no argument. Well, other former atheists disagree. Marilyn Adamson, who wrote How an Atheist Found God, she said, "I concluded that the evidence for God was so strong that it made more sense to believe in God than to believe he wasn't there." Lee Strobel, author and former worker at Chicago Tribune, he said, "It was the evidence from science and history that prompted me to abandon my atheism and become a Christian." Science and history led Lee Strobel to become a Christian. And in this intellectual journey that Lee Strobel took, mind you, he says in his book, The Case for Christ, that he was trying to disprove his wife's newfound Christian faith. George Greenstein, who wrote The Symbiotic Universe, he said, "As we survey all the evidence, the thought insistently arises that some supernatural agency, or rather agency, must be involved. Must be involved. And his phrase, supernatural agency, sounds kind of like Sir Isaac Newton's phrase, intelligent agent. Frank Tipler, professor of mathematical physics, wrote in The Physics of Immortality in 1994. He said, "When I began my career as a cosmologist some 20 years ago, I was a convinced atheist. I never in my wildest dreams imagined that one day I would be writing a book purporting to show that the central claims of Judeo-Christian theology are in fact true. That these claims are straightforward deductions of the laws of physics as we now understand them. I have been forced into these conclusions by the inexorable logic of my own special branch of physics." So putting all that in a nutshell, this is a cosmologist, a professor of mathematical physics, who was saying that he was a convinced atheist, and he wrote a book saying that the central claims of the Judeo-Christian theology connect with the laws of physics. That the claims of the Judeo-Christian faith are straightforward deductions of the laws of physics as we now understand them. Victor Weisskopf, Weisskopf, a physicist, said, "The Judeo-Christian tradition describes the beginning of the world in a way that is surprisingly similar to the scientific model." Henry Schaeffer III, a theoretical chemist, he said, "A creator must exist. The Big Bang ripples and subsequent scientific findings are closely pointing to an ex nihilo creation consistent with the first few verses of the book of Genesis." And a man that I quoted before, Arno Penzias, I'm sure I'm butchering his name, a physicist and Nobel Prize winner in physics in 1978, he said, "The best data we have concerning the Big Bang are exactly what I would have predicted had I nothing to go on but the 5 books of Moses, the Psalms, and the Bible as a whole." Wow. So I'm quoting scientists here, not theologians. Charles Darwin, the founder of evolutionary biology, he wrote in his book, The Descent of Man, "The question of whether there exists a creator and ruler of the universe has been answered in the affirmative by some of the highest intellects that have ever existed." This is Darwin saying this. Think about this quote the next time you see a Darwin fish on the back of someone's car. Darwin, a man who brought forth the theory of evolution. I know a lot of Christians and religious people get up in arms about evolution. I don't. I'm not interested in how life evolved upon the earth. I don't find the general study of biology or geology interesting to me. It's just not my thing. I'm more right brain than left brain. But this is Charles Darwin saying, the question of whether there exists a creator and ruler of the universe has been answered in the affirmative by some of the highest intellects that have ever existed. Certainly, that quote from Darwin is enough to allow atheists or agnostics to at least open their minds a little bit to at least the possibility of there being a creator. Charles Howard Towns, 1964 Nobel Prize winner in physics and the founder of laser science. He said, "I strongly believe in the existence of God based on intuition, observations, logic, and also scientific knowledge." Michael Strauss, Strauss, who wrote Scientific Evidence for God. He's an experimental particle physicist. He wrote this: "The universe began to exist. If the universe began to exist, then the universe has a transcendent cause. Because everything that began to exist has a cause." He said, "This cause must be immaterial, spaceless, timeless, and incredibly powerful," which is very, very close to theists' definition of God, and also deists' definition of God. Michael Strauss, Strauss. I encourage you to look him up. All these guys can talk about science and God with much more eloquence and intelligence than me. Anthony Flew, famous atheist philosopher who later on in his life changed his mind from atheism to belief in the existence of the Creator. He said, and I quote, "I must stress that my discovery of the divine has proceeded on a purely natural level." He's not saying he had a supernatural encounter with God like the Apostle Paul on the road to Damascus. He's not saying that he went to church and heard a sermon. No. His discovery of the divine was proceeded on a purely natural level without any reference to supernatural phenomena. He said, "It has been an exercise in what has traditionally been called natural theology. It has had no connection with any of the revealed religions, nor do I claim to have had any personal experience of God or any experience that may be called supernatural or miraculous. In short," he says, "my discovery of the divine has been a pilgrimage of reason and not of faith," which is not unlike Lee Strobel, who came to believe in God through science and history. So, I can go on and on. Professor John Lennox, teacher of mathematics and philosophy of science at Oxford University, he said, you can't explain the universe without God. Contrary to what Stephen Hawking claims, physical laws can never provide a complete explanation of the universe. Laws themselves do not create anything. They are merely a description of what happens under certain conditions. So, I'm not proving theism, okay? I'm not proving the Judeo-Christian belief about God strictly from science and logic. Although the scientists that I just quoted, they believe that their observation and discovery of science led them to believing in the Judeo-Christian God. Again, I'm not saying that science or logic proves the theistic God's existence. However, I do concede that a person can believe in the existence of a creator and be a deist, a theist, a pantheist, or a panentheist. Einstein believed in a pantheistic God. Darwin believed in the creator and ruler of the universe. Sir Isaac Newton, Anthony Flew. Are we to say that we are smarter than all of those? I'm not. Maybe you are. I don't know. But this is not to say that you have to believe in God to be a smart person or to be intellectual. If atheism or agnosticism makes more sense to you, then so be it. If being an atheist or an agnostic or a skeptic makes more sense to you, go right ahead. I don't patronize or condescend. So I simply ask that you extend me the same courtesy and at least open your mind enough to acknowledge that some of the greatest intellectual giants of science throughout history asserted a belief in a creator. Anyway, take care. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging with me for these 22 minutes. And God bless.